Welcome to the Southern Bible Thumper channel. The Bible is a manual given to us by the Creator to help us navigate His creation and get the best results. This is why it's important for us to read the Bible to understand instead of reading it just so we can say we've read it. During times when experiencing tragedy, humans want to find out why. Why, God, why? I have some information that will help us think critically about that question, why, God, why? And if that's the right question that we should be asking. First, God created self sustaining systems. When we think about his creations of the water cycle, of the transition of day to night, when we think of reproduction with plants, animals, and humans, these are all self sustaining systems that God does not have to intervene for them to continue. This is a This is a quality that supports life on earth, self sustaining systems that God does not have to intervene in. Secondly, the nature of our earth is duality. When God began creating, the earth was dark, filled with water, and formless. Every modification that God made, when he introduced light, that was a modification. When he introduced land, that was a modification. These these actions supported an environment to create life on earth. So again, duality, light and dark, dry land and formless water. That, in combination with self sustaining systems, provides an environment for creation to have autonomy or free will. Speech creates our world. The condition of the heart influences speech. As a man thinketh, so is he. Death and life are in the power of the tongue. When God began creating, he spoke and he created, and then he made man in his image. Self sustaining systems. Duality is the nature of our earth. Speech creates our world. These three ideas support autonomy. When we look at Leviticus chapter 18, verses 24 through 28, God gives Israel, this is after God gives Israel a list of prohibited actions that they are not to participate in. The reason is that by participating in certain actions, the land can become unclean or filthy or sick. Once the land changes because of humans' behavior, the land will expel humans off of the earth. The land has the ability to expel or vomit out the people that live on it. So, again, self sustaining systems, duality. God gives everyone the option to participate in the dark nature of duality. He gives us a guide so that we can experience the best outcomes on earth. But deciding not to read the manual usually results in chaos. Once chaos occurs, because humans refuse to adhere and honor God, the option to call on God is there. But we should consider what we're asking God to do when he gives us the tools to create the world and control the world the way we want to, he gives us a guide to tell us these are the best things you can do. If you don't honor him, if you don't want to develop a relationship with him, you don't want to get close to him, but you want him to just come in and fix the problem so that you can continue. We just have to consider if that is a situation that brings about some tragedy. Again, the Bible is supposed to provide clarity, not be used as a weapon. This is not to assign blame. It's not to be negative. It's just when we're trying to answer the question, why, God, why? I believe in you, God. Just understand when land begins to get sick, that's not just going to affect the people that are participating in that behavior. It's going to affect everyone on that land. That's why it was important for God to tell all of Israel so that they could all be on one accord. Just some ideas. 1 Samuel 13. Saul reigned 1 year, and when he had reigned 2 years over Israel, Saul chose him 3,000 men of Israel, whereof 2,000 were with Saul in Michmash and in Mount Bethel, and 1,000 were with Johnathan in Gibeah of Benjamin. And the rest of the people he sent every man to his tent. And Johnathan smote the garrison of the Philistines that was in Geba, and the Philistines heard of it. And Saul blew the trumpet throughout all the land, saying, Let the Hebrews hear. And all Israel heard say that Saul had smitten a garrison of the Philistines, and that Israel also was had in abomination with the Philistines. And the people were called together after Saul to Gilgal. And the Philistines gathered themselves together to fight with Israel, 30,000 chariots and 6,000 horsemen, and people as the sand which is on the seashore in multitude. And they came up and pitched in Michmash, eastward from Bethaven. When the men of Israel saw that they were in a strait, for the people were distressed, then the people did hide themselves in caves, and in thickets, and in rocks, and in high places, and in pits. And some of the Hebrews went over Jordan to the land of Gad and Gilead. As for Saul, he was yet in Gilgal, and all the people followed him trembling. And he tarried 7 days, according to the set time that Samuel had appointed. But Samuel came not to Gilgal, and the people were scattered from him. And Saul said, Bring hither a burnt offering to me, and peace offerings. And he offered the burnt offering. And it came to pass that as soon as he had made an end of offering the burnt offering, behold, Samuel came. And Saul went out to meet him, that he might salute him. And Samuel said, What hast thou done? And Saul said, Because I saw that the people were scattered from me, and that thou camest not within the days appointed, and that the Philistines gathered themselves together at Michmash, therefore said I, The Philistines will come down now upon me to Gilgal, and I have not made supplication unto the Lord. I forced myself, therefore, and offered a burnt offering. And Samuel said to Saul, Thou hast done foolishly. Thou hast not kept the commandment of the Lord thy God, which he commanded thee. For now would the Lord have established thy kingdom upon Israel forever. But now thy kingdom shall not continue. The Lord hath sought him a man after his own heart, and the Lord hath commanded him to be captain over his people, because thou hast not kept that which the Lord commanded thee. And Samuel arose and gat him up from Gilgal unto Gibeah of Benjamin. And Saul numbered the people that were present with him, about 600 men. And Saul and Johnathan his son, and the people that were present with them, abode in Gibeah of Benjamin. But the Philistines encamped in Michmash. And the spoilers came out of the camp of the Philistines in 3 companies. One company turned unto the way that leadeth to Ophrah, unto the land of Shaul, and another company turned the way to Betharon, and another company turned the way of the border that looketh to the valley of Zeboim toward the wilderness. But there was no smith found throughout all the land of Israel. For the Philistines said, Lest the Hebrews make them swords or spears. But all the Israelites went down to the Philistines to sharpen every man his share, and his coulter, and his axe, and his mattock. Yet they had a file for the mattocks, and for the coulters, and for the forks, and for the axes, and to sharpen the goads. So it came to pass in the day of battle, that there was neither sword nor spear found in the hand of any of the people that were with Saul and Johnathan, but with Saul and with Johnathan his son was there found. And the garrison of the Philistines went out to the passage of Michmash. 1 Samuel chapter 13. This is a continuation we're documenting how Saul became king of Israel. In chapter 8, Israel demands a king. Chapter 9, Saul is chosen. Chapter 10, Saul is anointed. Chapter 11, Saul led Israel to a victory, solidifying his place as king, earning the confidence of Israel. Chapter 12, Samuel addresses Israel because he's still the current leader, he's the judge and a prophet. He gives Israel the chance to voice their grievances about his leadership before totally transitioning to Saul being the new leader. So, 1 Samuel 13, Saul had been Israel's king for 2 years. His son Johnathan attacked and destroyed a Philistine military structure. That's what a garrison is. Unprovoked. Saul blew a trumpet to assemble the Hebrews. We haven't seen that word in a while. But Saul assembled the Hebrews after this because this is going to be a problem. Um, and the Philistines gathered together to fight with Israel. When Israel saw that they were sorely outnumbered, they began to hide in caves. Saul went to Gilgal, and the people followed him. So we saw in chapter 10, one of the things that Samuel told Saul to do was to go to Gilgal to wait 7 days for him to make an offering. So it seems like when we get here, there is an understanding that when something arises and he has to make an offering, to wait for Samuel for 7 days. So this is what's happening in verse 8. He's waiting at 7 days. Samuel doesn't show up. Saul is starting to lose the faith of the people. They're already terrified and outnumbered. So Saul decides he's going to make the burnt offering himself. As soon as he finishes it, here comes Samuel. He asks, "What have you done?" And Saul explains, "Well, you didn't come at the time that you were supposed to, and I was losing the faith of the people, so I went ahead and offered it myself." Samuel tells him, "You've done foolishly. You have not kept the commandment of God. So now your kingdom will not continue. The Lord wants a man after his own heart." Then Samuel left. Samuel went to Gibeah, or Saul, I'm sorry. Saul is the king. Saul went to Gibeah with 600 men. We learn that Israel, in verse 19, has no blacksmith because the Philistines did not want to give them the opportunity to make any weapons. So the only weapons or the only things they had were things that plowshare, a mattock, an axe. These are things to help with gardening or with herding animals. And Israel had to pay to use those services to sharpen their tools. So we get to verse 22. We learn that though the Israelites didn't have any weapons except for Saul and Johnathan. And when we look at verse 23, I had to look at the New Living Translation to kind of understand this. Um, so part of the Philistine army went to secure a different military base. All right. Thank you so much for clicking on the video. I love you. Have a wonderful day.